Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with Evelio Matos, Adam Peake, and Corey Connors.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Monday, December 9th.
Good morning.
Hi. What's up? What's happening?
I was very excited to debut my one of one t-shirt that you can buy for $6.2 million. Which is the there it is.
Why didn't you put that on your chest? Why is that on your stomach?
Because I felt like the art of the banana being duct taped to the wall was like off-centered. So like you can't just center it. You gotta put it off-center a little bit. It's an homage to the Bluth's banana stand from Arrested Development. And the duct tape piece of art, because there's always money in the banana stand. So that's what I went with. Thanks to Canva, canva.com for 20 United States dollars. You can pretty much make any shirt you want. If you wanted to make an NFT hoodie and wear it every time, you could do it if you wanted to.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. Your NFT joke, this means a lot to me. I was a part of something. I felt like I was a part of something for a little bit there, you know?
You probably still could be a part of it. I don't have NFTs come back.
I still own a couple of those.
Yeah, do you? I
do.
still have some NBA Top Shots. I was curious though, how Corey, if we can kick this off. We were talking before the show about your take on the lab leak theory from COVID. You were mentioning you had Corey not amused.
I'm out of here.
Corey, love you.
We do love you, Corey.
We love you, Corey. Corey did not have any serious opinions about that.
No.
Nor about banana art.
No, that was good, man. That was super good. All right, man. So
was good.
So it's Monday.
There's nothing good about the start of this show, Evelio.
We're all right. So we got a bunch of stuff going on today. We're going to talk about the year 2024. We've got Matthew Wright coming up here in a little bit. We've also got our buddy Ryan Fox going to come up towards the end.
Boxes.
That's right. And we was going to talk about like what's been going on over the year. I mean, there's been a ton of stuff that's happened in the last year. What are some of the things you're excited about, Corey? Or maybe not so excited about?
I really enjoy speaking with Ryan Fox. I think he's a voice in the industry that provides a lot of reason. I think he has educated a lot of people about the real numbers of recycling for corrugated materials, which are a lot lower than people think. And I think those numbers should spike here in a good way with EPR laws coming on board. I hope that's going to be a part of this transition to more regulation in the recycling industry. But if anybody's listening and you need to know about details of the corrugated industry, Ryan Fox is the guy that we all go to. He's a good guy, he's a good friend, and he's incredibly knowledgeable. I'm also really looking forward to speaking with Matthew Wright, the CEO of Specright, on the show. The Spec Summit that they put on every year is awesome, and it's a must attend. Adam and I go, I think, every year for the last 4 or 5 years. And I think if you're having trouble with your specification management, or if you're not, this would be something valuable to you to learn about.
So can I I'll sort of dovetail, right? That's the word.
Sure.
Dovetail. Could be.
Ducktail. I'll ducktail.
DuckTales.
Rat tail. I'll rat tail. Those were great. So I was having a conversation with a very large food and beverage company last week, and they're preparing their data for Oregon's reporting. And they were getting down to, because labels are packaging, they were talking about labels. And in Oregon, certain labels are being classified at the very highest level in terms of taxes. And so knowing all of your spec data is going to be super, super, super critical, because this is like a 7-figure decision or issue going into next year for some of these companies. Not all the companies are going to be 7 figures, but it is the consequences of not knowing your data are about to become very, very big for companies. And I think Oregon, I don't know, we'd have to have Michelle on to talk about Orax and how but I want to say it starts in like March. You have to start paying into their EPR. When is it, Corey? Do you know?
I think it's June or July, if I recall.
Okay. Either way, it's happening in 2025. And right, wrong, or indifferent, like it or not, it's happening. And states are starting to come on board. There's been a lot of talk about EPR. I think a lot of people have been pushing it off to the side, but
yes,
end of 2024 has been very, very critical. And because 2025 is when you have to start paying money. And trust me, they will get money. They will ask you for money. It's going to happen. You're going to have to pay into these EPR fees. And again, I'm not going to say, I don't know if it's good or bad. I'll be totally candid with you, because you start talking to some of these companies and they're like, we don't have the margin to absorb these costs. And so somebody is going to have to cover those costs. And I do have a feeling it's going to be consumers. And so I think it's still yet to be determined how much it's going to impact consumers. But it's a very real thing that's coming, and you can pretend like it's not, but you're going to get hit with those fees.
Yeah. No, and if you're, if you're just joining us, it'd be great just to kind of see where you're coming from, where you're at, where you're listening, where you're watching. Just throw it in the comments. Before we bring Matthew Wright up here, I was just looking at this article here on from the Sydney Morning Herald. I get questions all the time from young designers, students are like, hey, can I really make money in packaging?
Oh, really?
And, people are looking, kids want to go.
Tell them no.
Well, people want to go to school and they want to, they want to, they want to make sure they make the right career choice. But I was just reading here that Anthony Pratt donated over $10 million to Trump's campaign of his $23 billion personal fortune that he made off of Corrugated. So, if you know anybody, Corrugated is the way to go. Right, Corey?
There's a lot of money in the banana stand, and there's a lot of money in corrugated packaging.
It's crazy.
They've run a really successful business. And they've focused on recycled materials. They've focused on recycling, which I think is brilliant. Providing their own sources for their own feedstocks is, becoming vertically integrated in this industry is not easy to do, and they've done it. I think he's invested very wisely.
Insane.
I have a lot of positive things to say about them. I don't, as you know, want to talk about politics or I think that's a very personal thing and a personal decision that everybody makes. Yeah. But I think he has proven that corrugated can be profitable, and you can provide a valuable product while making value for your company.
Yeah, no, crazy. And then Novolux just bought Pactiv Evergreen, which is crazy.
Oh, wow.
Also.
That's
if you're a Pactiv Evergreen shareholder, you'll be receiving $18 per share in cash,
and a free hoodie, and a free
banana hoodie.
By the way, Avelio, I wanted to share this with you because you're talking about graphic designers. I shared this with our friends Kirk Visola and Andy Kurtz of the Kirk and Kurtz podcast. There's I saw this on the Instagrams, I believe is what it's called. There's a flight attendant comes on and says, "Is there a doctor on board?" My dad nudges me and says, "That should have been you." I say, "Not now, Dad." My dad says, "They're not asking for a graphic designer to help, are they?" I say, "Dad, there's a medical emergency happening right now." And my dad said, "Why don't you save him as a PDF and see if that helps?"
Oh,
wait. Nailed
there
it.
You go. We got people coming in from all over the place. We got Ann Arbor. We've got Charlie from UK.
Dubai.
All the way to Dubai. How awesome is that?
Spain.
Ghana. So thank you guys for joining us. This is awesome. So without further ado, let's get Matthew Wright up here and see what the spec.
Wait, should we have a transition?
Hey, Matthew.
Hey, would be nice. Good transition.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
Awesome. So Matthew Wright, CEO of Specright. One, how's it going? And then just if you can just give us a quick rundown, what do you guys do so that everybody's kind of aware of what's happening?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off Corey. I really enjoy talking with Ryan Fox, so it'll be exciting to spend a few minutes on that. Yeah, specification data management. I think, Adam, you mentioned it. It's getting all the specifications for your product and packaging in one spot, centrally controlled and at your fingertips to do things like reduce cost, be obviously sustainable. You know, EPR, you just were talking about, it's huge opportunity going on. And then, drive speed, get to market faster with all that data. So that's Specright, and excited to be on. A lot of great things happening. You talk about 24 going into 25 and really feel this is the year of awareness. It's really, for all of us who spent our careers in this space, we always find it exciting, the cool boxes, the cool things going on. But I really feel like we're going mainstream. The packaging now is one of the major topics of everyday people.
Yeah, well said.
Mhm.
Very true. It's affecting us all. All consumers, all brands need to be aware of what they're using and how they're using it. Well said, Matthew. Thank you.
So one, you kind of Corey touched on Spec Summit coming up, which will be exciting. But before we get to that, you guys are collecting some data. So what are we doing with this data, and how's that helping us?
Yeah, definitely. We do a lot of surveys on numerous topics, and what we try to do is provide that data flow back out to to everybody on the call. I think I just said it, this was kind of a space that didn't have a lot of data, right? It didn't talk a lot about what the trends were. That's the other reason I enjoy Ryan Fox. We're both putting data to this space, and so we do a lot of surveys about sustainability, about other things going on. One we look at is obviously how are people tracking their specifications today? What are the methods they're doing that? And we've been doing this. I think this will be our 5th year, and really going out and asking companies how they're doing. What we're trying to do is obviously look for trends over 5 years, and obviously going forward is really digitization and data management's coming stronger and stronger to the space, and really see what trends we're seeing. What are people using less of? What are people using more of? And in this, I think it's a really useful tool for people that are trying to change the way they do things, to go to their management or go to their peers and talk about, what's going on out there. How do they compare to that? So we encourage people to do the survey. It's good for everybody. We always share a lot of data back out about it that you can use internally. And we also give you an Amazon gift card. I think everybody could use one of those during this time of the year. But we'll wrap up the spec survey here on the 20th. So I just encourage everybody to, when you get that link, to please fill it out. And obviously you'll get the great assets back from us sharing what we're seeing. And then this will be kind of neat because we'll talk about trends over the last several years.
Yeah. And so if you're looking forward with all the data you've collected and just your time in packaging, right? 'Cause you've been in packaging besides Specright, you've got a history of packaging. What do you think's happening in 2025? What's going to be the biggest shift that you're going to see?
Well, I think Adam said it. There's no doubt about it, it's EPR. I mean, there's and what it is it's and I think Adam, you also said it's is it good or bad? That's a whole different discussion. But the reality of it's here, and the dates you mentioned with Oregon, Colorado, California, and all the states moving. Plus, for those I saw globally, obviously Europe, as usual, is well ahead of us on dates. Australia. So it's really pushing the need for data. And what the challenge is, as we all know, because we're in the space, is it's multi-layered data and it comes from different spots. And so it's very complex. Adam, you're talking about the label data, that comes from obviously the paper supplier to the printer, to the converter, to the user, and then ultimately to the retailer. So this really viral thread of data that's critical for companies today to have, to not only report and obviously understand the impact they have, but also to start answering questions consumers are starting to ask. So I think 25, obviously selfishly going to say it's a data issue challenge, but it's also data awareness and data transparency that's coming to us. And I think it's a lot faster on us than we even realize. We've done kind of timeline, how long it takes you to get ready. And I tell you, it's going to be a challenge in 25.
You know, I would jump in too, because there's something that I wasn't even aware of that came up. There's a New Jersey law about PCR content, and you have to hit certain thresholds for PCR based on whatever the product is. And I don't even know if I had even thought about that from an EPR standpoint, but there are fees and fines associated with not being able to show your work. You know, you have to be able to show that it has certain PCR content. And so I think that this goes beyond just, hey, I have the data and I can, you know, obviously, like I can conduct a pricing exercise because now I have all my data. It's like that is a use case. It's a helpful use case. But now it's like, holy cow, this stuff is becoming a significant part of, it's a C-suite level thing now. You know, the consequences of it. I had an investor on, Sid Bantia, who's a Wall Street investor. He was on my podcast and he talked about how packaging has become a high level investor level issue, especially as it pertains to finance, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, I was going to say real quick, it's what you mentioned about Jersey, which is true, is that it's ebbing and flowing. It's a breathing, living organism now. States are going to change, communities are going to change, countries are going to change, and I think companies are still looking at this as a project. Let me get it done and move on. And fortunately, unfortunately, it's shifted. It's now part of a breathing, living organism that we have to manage daily.
Well, I mean, I'll shut up after this, but like I brought this up at Pack Expo, and I was like, what's going to happen with this type of packaging, right? This is it's a metallized film that is considered non-recyclable by Cal Recycles. And if you walk through a grocery store, you have this and stand-up pouches and all sorts of stuff that is everywhere in a grocery store. And I said, is this going to be banned in California by 2032? And they were like, we think so. That's how we read the law. And so you talk about it kind of shifting, and is that going to actually happen? I don't have any idea. But the point is, if you don't know what your exact materials are, how on earth are you going to be able to keep up with the uncontrollables, which are legislation and things like that? You can control this stuff. You can't control what everybody else is going to decide.
That's a tough shift, right? Because changing from that material to a mono material with all the barriers and everything else, like that's a jump in cost.
Very hard.
Right. It's a jump in cost through the entire supply chain and the entire production of that stuff. And it's like, you, as a brand, like, do you want to jump ahead of schedule with a lot of this legislation ends up getting pushed, right? Like I know in Spain, in Europe, there's a huge legislation that's about to be passed January 1st. We're like, 2026 now. I was like, they just put a pause on it. Everybody's like ready to make a change. And those types of things really impact business. So it's really tough, I think.
Because not only is it the material, yeah, well said, Avelio. Not only is it the material that we have to change, it's possibly the capital investment for the machine that is the horizontal form, fill, and seal machine, or the flow wrapper, or the vertical, stick machine. It's all of this equipment has to be tested with this new monomaterial, or sometimes paper instead of plastic. It's causing, even especially like co-packers. I spoke to the European Co-Packers Association, and they are absolutely overwhelmed with requests of shift this material to that. And there's, what? Hold on a second. We've been running this for you for 20 years. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And if they don't have that equipment, then you got to change co-packers, which that's a whole nother thing too. Like it's insane.
And get it approved by the supplier or the Costco's of the world. If you don't tell Costco you're changing your manufacturing site, they will fire you. You're out. Peace out. No, you can't sell here anymore. You must tell them everything. And that's why Costco's so great. That's why you can go in there and, for the most part, trust them.
Yeah, they're not the most sustainable, but
right. True.
Let's ask one question, Matthew, from Chris Olson. Like, how does Specright play in improving recyclability? And then we'll have Ryan Fox jump up here with us. I'm going to keep going in this conversation.
Yeah, I'll make it real quick. What we believe in is just an open world of sharing. So we integrate with all the great tools you mentioned, a few of them, Michelle, Lorax, how to recycle. It's another new partnership we're building, SPC. So we really believe we're kind of in the middle. What we are is a data center, right? And then we visualize this data through great tools that are out there today, like Lorax, like Triac, and others. And so, again, we play the role of helping get the data, organize the data, set a standard for the data, and avail the data out. We're going to be announcing here shortly a new council that we're putting together of a lot of major retailers and major brands, and really all about data and making sure everybody understands the data that's required, and making that knowledge of that data very easy to grab for everybody. So we stop spending a lot of time trying to figure out what we need to do and just spend the time doing it. So that's our role in the, how to become more sustainable, how to be better in this space.
Got it. That's excellent. So let's have Ryan Fox jump up here, because he's gonna have some info as well.
Can we get our own intro music for Ryan Fox? I feel like we need to have some sort of jingle.
What does that Fox say? Something like that.
Oh, that would be a good. That would be.
Have you heard that song? Yeah.
I have. Ring, ding, 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 ding.
Hey, Ryan. Good morning.
That's his theme song.
Ryan's not able to hear us, so
he can't hear us.
Ryan.
Right.
We don't know what the Fox is going to say because he can't hear anything. That's sad.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, we hear you.
We can hear you though.
Hmm.
Oh.
We did such a great build-up.
I know. It's like a wah wah.
I can't hear anything.
All right, we're gonna put you down, but you can't hear us.
We don't know what
he'll get it fixed, and then
I'm guessing he had to live through that whole song though, by the way. Like we
oh my gosh.
I can't even imagine having
painful.
Yeah.
I think
have I told the story real quick about my friend whose name is Mike Wazowski?
No.
And he was like, my whole life changed when I saw Monsters Inc. for the first time. And just kids everywhere were like, your name's Mike Wazowski? Mike Wazowski.
Good movie.
Sometimes.
It's unfortunate Ryan's what trying to get Ryan back up. But what I really love about Ryan is he's taking a lot of myth and mystery out of the space and putting data to the space. So I'm excited for Ryan's work.
Is it going to work?
We're here.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing my
What does
favorite
the Fox
shirt today.
say?
Look, that wasn't very data driven of you.
It's dangerous when you have two data guys on the call. Sorry.
I mean,
That's awesome.
I always think about like Wayne's World. Does this guy know how to party or what?
We're proudly packaging nerds. Yeah.
That's right.
This guy blows chunks. I have proof. What was the?
Yeah.
We need all the
You're
cards.
gonna spew into this.
Lots of Wayne's World references on this show.
Love it.
So go check it out if you haven't seen it. Streaming now on Netflix. So Ryan, man, what's the state of cardboard?
Oh, okay. So big picture here.
Corrugated board.
All right. So earlier this year, we wrote that ultimately the volume that we're seeing right now for corrugated boxes is not much different than it was in 1994.
Which is when Wayne's World came out.
Well, pretty close to it anyway.
I don't know if that's true or not, but it's probably pretty.
It may have
close.
been 91 or 92, but yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
So really in 30 years, we've not experienced true market growth. But interestingly enough, though, we're doing that same volume with almost 25% fewer box plants and almost 30% fewer people.
Right.
So a lot of changes a play right now. There are, big global consolidations, and
that doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so I mean the 30-year non-growth because we had zero e-commerce in 1994. I had to go to L&L supermarket in Monument, Colorado on my bike and go buy stuff, right? We went to 7-Eleven and bought candy cigarettes. Now you can just have candy cigarettes show up at your house. So how has it decreased? Is it just industrial usage is lower? Because certainly consumer usage is way higher than it was in 1994.
Well, so this is I'll kind of have like a parenthetical thought here. My ADHD is just going nuts today, but this is part of the reason why the recycling rate has been misinformed for so many years. In 1994, we only imported somewhere around like 5 million containers of goods into our country. We've hit as high as 26 million containers here in the last 2 years. So the number of imports, we've essentially been offshoring all of the production of so many different types of goods. And so, what do you have to say about that? I mean, that's ultimately why we've seen such a decline.
Oh, got it. So that isn't so when something is imported on a container and it's in a corrugated box, that's not counting in terms of what you are talking about. Is that true?
So if we were to put both of those together, then yes, we would have seen overall packaging industry growth over the last 30 years. But domestically, we really haven't seen real growth. E-commerce has been the last, real end market that's shown any significant traction there.
And can we call other packaging materials OPM and just say like we're down with OPM?
That would be great.
Yeah.
I usually open up my, when I talk at recycling conferences, I usually start with you down with OCC. And I'm really shocked.
You know me.
I'm really shocked that more people don't say that.
I'm not. OCC is naughty by nature.
Yeah.
Especially if it's coming through a MRF. I don't know.
It's true. So how does that information play into some of the data that you're collecting at Specright?
Well, Ryan and I just started chatting and really sharing. I think we've just begun some interesting work together. And again, what we'll help do is build a database that's never really been there before, right? And so as we go forward, I think the data that Ryan's working with and providing these great insights and things that can help us understand the path forward, which I think I've enjoyed looking at Ryan's. It's predictable for the future, and that's what we're trying to get with our data sets, is really create some great outcomes in the future by merging analytics on top of data. And that's really ultimately what Ryan's doing. I think we're just going to enrich the work he's doing over time.
Yeah. So what he might be referring to is we have a new methodology that we're putting forward around when the price of corrugated packaging might change for people who have contracts. And for a very long time, there's another publication that tracks the price of linerboard in the open market. And they'll say, open market prices moved by X number of dollars per ton. There's been a lot of public commentary about that. You may have read it in some of the different media outlets. I know Packaging Dive has covered this, where the CEOs may say, well, we're not getting any help from these people. We've raised our prices, but they didn't recognize it. The reason for this is the open market is such a small portion of the overall. And when I say small, I mean less than 5%. 30 years ago, that was a much different story. You had several different players that had much more capacity. So instead of having an international paper with nearly 30% of the market share, and then a WestRock with almost 20% of the market share, and a packaging, instead of having 3 or 4 big giants, you had 10 that all were pretty evenly distributed. And that's not the case anymore. We have 4 major players that represent about 70% of everything.
Jeez.
And then you start throwing in some of the smaller mills, and I'm going to say smaller in air quotes because they're not necessarily small. These are still very big companies, but companies like Pratt and Cascade and Atlantic Packaging Products in Canada and Liberty and BioPapel. I mean, there are just so many other companies that are growing, and they are gaining market share right now.
It's insane.
Ryan, will you be at Spec Summit?
Yes, I'm going to be at Spec Summit. Yeah, in Nashville. Nash Vegas, baby.
Participating, so we're excited.
Yeah, so we're going to do a session kind of on this new pricing methodology. Just talking about where it came from, why it's here, what we hope it to do. Essentially, it's a calculator. It's a very logical, data-driven exercise that's based on real data, real observable data. And because it's real and because it kind of works as a calculator, you can begin to create scenarios in the future based on what these inputs might be doing, and it will tell you how the price of your packaging might move.
So, how are these tariffs going to play into potential tariffs? Going to play into domestic corrugate?
That's a great question. The U.S. imports right around almost 1.5 million tons of paper every year, just in corrugated. The predominant substrate is white, like a white top. So coated whites or bleached whites, white top. There are still some craft and some mediums that are going to be imported as well, but it's predominantly white. And so they could be subjected to these tariffs. And so if that's the case, we expect that prices would go up.
Yeah. It seems to me that 2025 and into 2026 even, if you combine the conversation about EPR and also tariffs on all these imported goods, I think it could end up creating a very competitive landscape for things like down gauging, for reduction in overall packaging, for right sizing packaging. It seems like this is sort of the environment that's going to be coming up. That's like, well, hey, you're just gonna have to use less of it, or not come out with 87 products during the year and only do 20 or something like that.
That's a scenario that we wrote about back in April when we were kind of doing an annual refresh on EPR to see what was going on. When companies, come out and they say that they have a new value over volume strategy, part of the value that they can create is making a box that's very lightweight and yet very strong. And when you do that, if your box, let's just use 32 ECT as it's supposed to be able to pass a 32-pound edge crush test. There are some manufacturers who still use heavyweight liners. It might be like a 35, 26, 35, or 35-pound liner, 26-pound medium, and maybe they down gauge the inside liner and they use like a 31 or something. But it has a basis weight, right? And the basis weight is the total amount of weight per 1,000 square feet of material. If there's another manufacturer who can accomplish that same 32 ECT and use a 26-pound liner and a 26-pound medium and a 26-pound liner, that's a significantly lighter package with a significantly lower EPR cost. And so the conversation about pricing in the marketplace may change dramatically because the total cost of ownership should be something that people are thinking about.
Interesting.
And that's a big conversation that I know that we're having is just TCO, right? Like, it's not just the price of the pack or the price of the material. It's start to finish, import, logistics, warehousing, delivery, taxes, like all the different things that go into pack. And a lot of brands, what they do is, I've got my packaging budget, so they pay this out of the packaging budget. Then, fees and all these other things come out of maybe a different budget, so you don't see it. But as a brand, total cost of ownership is a bigger number. But because it's not coming out of the same bucket, they're like, and they keep going until it's too far along, and you get hit with like some crazy fees, and then it's like, well, why are we doing this? Now it's time to change. Now you're in a rush. Versus like looking at your specs, managing what's expected, and looking at it as a whole and trying to reduce those costs and deliver. But I would tell you most buyers wouldn't be able to break apart, the 3 layers and tell you what they are.
And the TCO conversation is one that some people aren't prepared to have. Right. You guys were talking about Pratt earlier. I worked for Pratt in my previous life, and when they rolled out D-Flute, we had real good data, like very good data about what that did from a total cost of ownership. Having a more dense truckload of boxes, having more boxes per pallet, so that there are fewer truckload shipments in a month, week, year, that there were fewer moves of a forklift from inventory to point of use. All of these things are easily, they can be easily calculated.
Mhm.
And when you can calculate them and you can measure them, then you can see what kind of impact you'll have through the entire value stream. And so that total cost of ownership is something that, the really savvy salesperson right now should be really playing on.
And then the question was asked, how does Specright play to that? I think the other that you're dead on, Ryan, is like a lot of those great initiatives never made it past the initiative stage. Part of it was the lift to change. So hard to change all your data, get all that information changed, and arguably you can easily query up the 500 items that could switch to deflute and immediately change it, and then have visibility of the vendor to the manufacturing facilities aware and the changes made. So I think this rapid ability to change and make these impactful changes. You mentioned, white top, a bleached top paper coming in the country. Maybe that needs to be looked at, right? But that was hard to change historically. So we can, manage those changes so much faster as you just have data at your fingertips. So, and I think that's going to be part of the speed to impact this total cost of ownership.
Yeah, and Matthew, I'll tell you what, on the white side of things, it is a very specific product. The manufacturers like running a particular grade of white from a particular manufacturer, from a particular mill. They like the brightness, the color. They like how the brand colors pop on it, and they are not going to switch. So even having the ability to write that into a spec somewhere and to say, hey, this is a such what paper from such a what mill, it's 36 pound, it's 20, whatever the thing is, that's really important.
Yeah.
But there will be, I think we will see brands, talking. I mean, it's actually perfect timing with Michelle Enright coming in and talking about a good convo, because I think that Sonos has been a brand or an example of a brand that has, used. I've got this box sitting back here, but like they did make a pivot into more, more paper-based craft from some of their other packaging. So, while there are going to be brands who won't change, maybe there are companies that are not going to change, not because it doesn't make sense, but because, as Matthew described, they have disparate data systems and they have no idea the lift to make that change. If you calculate that into a total cost of ownership, is going to be a little bit too much. And it just goes to show how important it is to make sure that you remain flexible coming into 2025. I think that's the big takeaway, is like, there's a lot of uncertainty in the US market going into 2025, right? We know some certainty around EPR, but a lot of stuff is uncertain. Are the deadlines going to get extended? What's going to happen with tariffs? What's going to happen with the economy? And in that uncertainty, I just keep coming back to like, control what you can control, and you can control your data. Like, that is something that is fully in your control should you want to do it. If you've outsourced that, I think you're going to be paying quite a bit, literally paying quite a bit more than you need to if you're not able to kind of quickly pivot.
Yeah. No. And I mean, this kind of just goes in line with what you're talking about, Ryan, in terms of adjusting GSM to achieve a higher ECT. Like, there's so many different ways to cut this thing, but the way that I'm seeing it from a design perspective is, if whiteboard come in, it's going to have, potentially have tariffs on there. It's time to start looking at craft, right? Like, just natural craft, ways to improve print quality, get creative with your design. Because that's an easy shift if you're starting up, right? If you're already established and your packaging is white, that shift is a bigger change. And then having like a system like Specright to be able to see all of your packaging and manage it and make that switch will make it easier. But yeah, if you're just starting out, skip the white, go with natural craft.
Yeah.
That'll hit all the buttons, right? The high recycled rate, the high PCR, avoiding some of the tariffs, and kind of just simplifying your life.
There's so many great ideas, like Ryan mentioned, over the years that just never took off for numerous reasons. I think it's a great time to recollect those ideas. We run on what we call it IQ. We throw that back over the data set and then see the outcomes. And so things as simple as white to craft, what is the impact? Thinner fluting absolutely has multi-value parts to it. So I think it's just about redoing some of these great initiatives we tried in the past that really probably have more applicability today, or will get more energy behind them today than they did before.
Yeah, some of the new technology that I've seen from Ranpak, I just visited their factory in Eygelshaven, and it was incredible to see them printing directly onto craft material and how brilliant the print looked. And it's print on demand. So you order your craft material plain, you run it through the machine. It's auto, it's right sized, it's everything is exactly like you want it. You're going to use the least amount of material possible, and then it's going to look beautiful for that specific client, whoever you're shipping to or for.
Was that inkjet printing, Corey? Do you know?
It was digital, and it's amazing. It's called Print It, and it's a Ranpak technology. I was blown away by it. They have a machine that has 4 different sizes of lids for these right size boxes. The technology is incredible.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty cool digital inkjet direct to corrugate printing. Sorry, I said corrugate. Ryan, I am so sorry. I should be punished for that. Direct to cardboard.
I'll take that over the other one.
George Pereira.
If that was UV.
Yes, typically inkjet and UV. At least from what I've been able to tell, Corey, you might be able to answer this, but a lot of it tends to be you can get a lot more opacity because inkjet is a build versus kind of toner based digital, which is like what HP has done. That tends to sink into the craft a little bit more, so it gets hard to get vibrant colors off of it. It's the same thing with printing on labels, printing on folding carton material, printing on corrugated fiberboard. Is that better, Ryan?
Yes.
But it also depends on the craft itself, right? Because there's
very true.
Canadian craft, which is like a lighter, whiter, tighter
Tidy
fiber
whiter
that holds the ink closer to the surface versus some of the stuff that we see here in the US that kind of absorbs in.
Yep. And then I haven't seen the Hummingbird press out of GP, but I know that they've got some pretty impressive printing as well. So that the digital printing direct onto corrugated fiberboard is it's just so much easier to say corrugate, Ryan. I'm sorry. But the
it's
direct,
not a word.
It is now. All right. We just need Gen Alpha to take it and run with it. But it's incredible. So that's cool, Corey, that you got to see that with Ranpak. I would love to get out there and check it out.
Awesome. So, I mean, there's been a ton that's gone on this past year. Looking forward to 2025. I know there's gonna be a ton of changes with just legislation, new brands making some shifts. Retail has been kind of slowing down a little bit in a lot of areas. I'm expecting it to continue to slow as things continue to change, but that's a good opportunity for us to make a big difference here, and really can take some of these steps. What can you share, Ryan, about the future?
Well, I mean, I think you're exactly right. And if you look at the major brands and retailers, just what they've seen this year, there's been a pretty pronounced slowdown. And when you look at the retailers, you see kind of more people gravitating to Walmart and fewer people gravitating to Target. You see fewer people going to Macy's and more people going to TJ Maxx. Again, in kind of big round terms, we are seeing people trade down and look for value. So right now, there's nothing that shows us that is going to necessarily change. And big if tariffs do appear the way we think they're going to appear, and it continues to cause price inflation, then we can likely expect this to continue, which is going to be a drag on consumer goods. I mean, we've been on a consumer goods recession for about 2 years now, and it could stick around.
Mr. Wright, I think we should let you finish the show, sir. You want to tell us just a little bit of final thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I think, a topic, and we talked about a few times about siloed information in companies, but change management, I think that's really going to be we've talked about it probably all our careers, right, at some level or some degree of importance. But I think it's the silos have to come down. The pressures on business, you mentioned a great thing before about not wanting to change the foil, right, for multiple reasons. You have the consumer expectations, you have the visualizations, you have the costs, the tariffs, the EPRs. I mean, all these things are coming at companies today so fast that I really think it's truly about organizational readiness and just changing behavior. And it's interesting to sit in my seat and watch, because I see some companies you may not think are that much willing to make change and change the whole structure of the companies that are doing it. And you see ones that you would think would be easy and they can't do it. And so it's really interesting to stand from my position to see the digitization of manufacturing, the importance of packaging rise, change management, and be observing while helping companies get through this. So I think it's a really interesting time. As I said at the beginning of the show, I think we're on the stage. I mean, packaging is on the stage now, and it's time to really grab it and run and show what we can do.
That's awesome. I want to just thank you guys for being on here. Really looking forward to 2025. If you've got any ideas, if you're out there and you're watching and you're listening, if you've got an idea of what's going to change in 2025, like drop it in the comments, let us know. It's awesome to see everybody that's coming on here. Don't be offended, but Balasu Brahmanian, you're on here all the time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
Comment, like, what's a shorter name that I can use for you, so I can throw it out there, because I love your posts. Your comments are super awesome. Or I just got to get used to using the name. That's on me. But thank you guys so much for joining and commenting. Go check out Specright.com and join Spec Summit. Go check it out. You'll see Ryan Fox, Corey, Adam. I might be there this year. And I got to be honest, Ryan, it feels kind of good, a little impressive to be like, hey, we got the guy with like the Bloomberg background, right?
I know.
We're big time now.
That's
Listen,
his bedroom, though.
I'm still the really tall, goofy guy that wears the data-driven T-shirts and stuff. So it is what it is, guys.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah,
thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, everybody. Love it.
We'll see you guys.
Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with Evelio Matos.